Hello everyone, my name is Zenitsu and I'm back with another Digimon deck profile video. So today I'm going to be taking a look at BT15, and BT15 offers us lots of new and powerful tools to be able to build and iterate on some new and existing decks. And today's deck I'm going to be taking a look at is going to be a brand new iteration on the Gammamon deck. So Gammamon did get a couple of updates in BT15 thanks to the fact that LM cards are inside of BT15. But that doesn't really change Gammamon's overall playstyle that much because he's still just a traditional stack-based deck where we're trying to digivolve into our level 6s and 7s as efficiently as we possibly can. The deck kind of plays around with the idea of shoving Digimon into its inheritable sources because it wants to try to have a really big stack thanks to the level 5s being able to turn those native abilities into inheritable ones, so you could build a really powerful toolbox style Digimon. The deck also has some pretty decent aggro control tools where it has lots of ways to be able to delete the opponent's Digimon and different aggressive tools to deal a decent amount of damage onto the opponent at the same time, while also having some solid built-in resilience to it. Then there's two main ways that you're going to want to approach it building the deck, but no matter which build you're going to be using, they're going to be fairly similar. If you're a more budget-friendly player, you could focus on a more pure serious build, or you could build it the more traditional style, focused around Proximamon. The biggest weakness of the deck is the fact that it is a stack-based deck, which does naturally come with its own inconsistencies, making sure you find the right level at the right time, but because it is a toolbox-style deck on top of that, making sure you find the right piece of the right level at the right time is going to be a little bit harder of a task, especially since we don't have the ability to incorporate some of the generic consistency and acceleration tools that other decks have access to because this deck is multicolored, and cards like the training cards and memory boost support more monocolored decks. But that won't stop this deck from being a really fun and powerful deck on a more casual basis. So with all that said and done, let's just dive right into the deck profile and see what we're working with. So when it comes to the Digitamas, I'm going to be running a all Gurimon Digitama lineup. So it doesn't necessarily matter how much of what Gurimon you're going to be running. I'm just going to be running Gurimons that help me draw cards to try to make the deck as consistent as possible. Then when it comes to the level 3s, I'm going to be running 4 copies of the RB1 Gammamon as a really good searching or digging tool, while also having the inheritable ability to try to help DP boost our Digimon. Then I'm going to be running 2 copies of Promo 58 Gammamon, which does have an RB1 reprint, and this card is mostly just a card we want to shove into our inheritables instead of digivolving into them, because his costs are rather high, but the ability is really good, because if we have a Red Tamer in play, then we get to attack into the opponent's unsuspended Digimon, similarly to Raid. Then on top of that, I'm also going to be running 2 copies of the BT8 Gammamon, because this allows us to draw a card natively when we're playing our Tamers. Our main Tamers are red, so it's just adding to the overall consistency, while also having a nice inheritable ability to be able to try to snipe low-level Digimon that have 3000 DP or less when we're attacking with our higher stage Digimon. And then when it comes to the rest of the level 3s, I'm going to be running 4 copies of the LM Gammamon. So the LM Gammamon only is in here to try to help with the deck's overall speed, because we don't necessarily have the most efficient ways of cheating on Digivolution, and this card actually allows us to do so as long as one of our other Digimon is being deleted. Then we get a Digivolve into a card with Gammamon in its text from our trash for free, which is just really good at being able to try to climb our stages a little bit more efficiently. Then he even has a nice inheritable ability where it's an on-delete effect to be able to play out a hero from our hand for free, having alternative ways to be able to set up our Tamer. Then I'm going to be running, as the last rookie, 2 copies of Bokomon. So even though we can't digivolve into him or on top of him, we don't necessarily care, because his on-play ability allows us to be able to search out our Gammamon-based cards, and his secondary ability acts as some nice added protection Then when it comes to the level 4s, the level 4s is kind of where we're just running a menagerie of different abilities because we're trying to turn them into inheritables. So I'm going to be running 2 copies of the RB1 Battle Gammamon because of Raid and his when Digivolving ability to play a Tamer if we don't already have one, which is really nice with our overall setup. Then I'm going to be running 2 copies of Battle Gammamon from BT8 because he comes with the when Digivolving ability of Blitz. And I'm also going to be running 2 copies of the RB1 Wizen Gammamon because he comes with the blocker ability for defensive capabilities. Then when it comes to the rest of the level 4s, I'm just going to be delegating it to more Gullus Gammamons. So I'm going to be running 3 copies of the RB1 Gullus Gammamon because his end of attack ability is just more added control and an extra way to be able to delete this Digimon to trigger some of our on-delete abilities, like his own, where we get to play a Gammamon from our trash suspended for free. Then the BT10 Gullus Gammamon, which I'm running also at 3 copies, comes with that same on-delete ability, and it also comes with the retaliation effect, as long as it has a card with Gammamon in its name in its Digivolution source. Then, when it comes to the level 5s, I'm going to be running 2 copies of the RB1 Regulusmon. So he has the nice when Digivolving and when attacking ability to be able to discard a card with Gammamon in its text from our hand, to be able to give one of our Digimon an on-delete ability to delete one of the opponent's Digimon with the lowest level until the end of our turn. So we want to try to have a supporting Digimon out as well as our main stack to try to take full advantage of this ability that we can give our other Digimon. Then it also has a all turns ability where this Digimon gains all the effects of the Gammamon named cards in its Digivolution source, which is really decent at making sure that we could actually spread the native abilities of all of our level 4s and lower to not only just him, but our higher stages, because his inheritable ability is that same all turns effect, which is going to also be the reason why I'm running 3 copies of the RB1 Kanoweismon, because it has that same all turns ability native to him and as an inheritable. Then on top of that, this card, what I like about him is the fact that he has a nice warp potential built into him, where if our Gammamon has a Gammamon named card in its Digivolution source, then we could Digivolve into this card for 3 and ignore the Digivolution requirements, having an alternative way to be able to try to climb our stages and get back into the game, or just accelerate our overall game plan. And then I'm also going to be running 3 copies of Regulus Ace, so not only is this an Ace Digimon, which comes with the hand counterblast Digivolution effect to Digivolve on the opponent's turn, potentially for free, but he has some more added control to him, where he has a nice on-play and when Digivolving ability to trash 1 card from our hand and placed a Gammamon texted card from our trash to the bottom of this Digimon's Digivolution source, which then triggers his all turns ability, where once per turn, when an effect adds a Digivolution source to this Digimon, by deleting a level 4 or lower Digimon, doesn't necessarily need to be ours, it could be the opponent's, we get to play a level 4 or lower Digimon from our trash for free, having a good way to try to control and recur at the same time. Then when it comes to the level 6s, I'm going to be running 3 copies of Arcturusmon. So Arcturusmon is one of the key cards to what defines the Proxima build because of its synergy with Proximamon, where it has an on-delete ability where we get to return 1 Digimon from our trash to our hand, discard a Siriusmon, and play out a Proxima from our hand for free as an alternative way to be able to get that card out. Then he has a nice when Digivolving ability going up into him to try to have a strong body and force the opponent to try to delete him, where we get to place 1 card with Gammamon in its text from our trash to the bottom of this Digimon's Digivolution source, and then delete one of the opponent's Digimon whose level is equal to or less than the number of Digivolution sources this Digimon has. So it's just more removal and a big body that can play an even bigger body. And then he even has a nice inheritable ability, so he's even a good fodder card for us to try to shove underneath our main stack, where when an opponent's Digimon gets deleted, if this Digimon has Gammamon in its text, then we get to trash the top card of the opponent's security stack as a nice extra bonus. Next, I'm going to be running 2 copies of RB1 Siriusmon. So RB1 Siriusmon, just like Arcturousmon, when we digivolve up into him, has a really good ability to try to add it to his inheritables and delete one of the opponent's Digimon. This time, it's DP based instead of level based. Then, on top of that, he has a nice ability where during your turn, when an opponent's Digimon is deleted, we get to unsuspend this Digimon. So that way we have the ability to be able to multi-attack or line up a defense play, depending on how our stack looks and the plays that we're able to make. And the last level 6 of the deck is going to be 2 copies of the brand new Siriusmon Ace. So he is another Ace card, and that comes with a really good control type of ability attached to him on his on-play and when digivolving effect, where we get to place a Gammamon texted card from our hand to the bottom of this Digimon's Digivolution source to be able to delete one of the opponent's Digimon with 8,000 DP or less, and then for each color in this Digimon's Digivolution source, we get to add 1,000 to the range in which we can delete Digimon, so the more colors we have underneath him, the stronger this removal type of ability becomes, which feeds into his secondary ability, where during all turns once per turn, when another Digimon is deleted, doesn't even specify if it needs to be ours or the opponent's, then we get to gain 1 memory, helping with our overall tempo. And then to cap things off with the level 7s, I'm just going to be running 2 copies of Proximamon. So we already know that we have a couple of different ways to be able to play Proxima, and he is a very strong card because of his 2 abilities that he was playing around with, where during all turns once per turn, when another Digimon is deleted, it could be ours, it could be the opponent's, it doesn't matter, we get to play a level 4 or lower Digimon with Gammamon in its name from our trash for free, as a good way to be able to get extra bodies onto the field. Then he also has a nice end of turn ability, where by placing 1 Digimon with Gammamon in its text from our hand or trash to the bottom of the Digivolution source of this Digimon, we get to delete one of the opponent's Digimon with DP equal to or less than this Digimon's DP, having good recursive removal. Then when it comes to the Tamers of the deck, I'm just going to be running all heroes. So I'm going to run 2 copies of the BT8 hero as the main memory fixing Tamer, while also having the ability to help with our Digimon gaining some extra DP. And then when it comes to the main Tamer of the deck, that goes to 4 copies of the RB1 hero. So RB1 hero is one of the better cards in terms of gaining some extra DP for when our Digimon's digivolving, which is a little bit easier than the BT8 where we actually need to attack. But the main purpose of this card is because it's helping with our overall setup thanks to its start of main phase ability, where we get to place a card with Gammamon in its text from our hand to the bottom of the Digivolution source of one of our Digimon, and we get to gain a memory and draw a card. So it's just helping set up our inheritables and to be able to help set up some of our abilities or even trigger some of our abilities to begin with. And then when it comes to the options, you can kind of run whatever options you feel like, because the deck is kind of tight on how it's operating. We don't have that much room for options, but I'm just going to be running some hard removal because the deck does on the higher end care about deleting the opponent's Digimon. And what better card to try to delete the opponent's Digimon than 2 copies of Trident Gaia. So Trident Gaia is deleting the opponent's Digimon with the highest DP, and if that Digimon just so happened to have 13,000 or more DP, then we also get to trash the top card of the opponent's security stack for some added burn. But that's pretty much it for the deck, and the deck is a pretty fun and strong deck on a more casual level because it does have that problem keeping up with some of the more current decks and the acceleration that they recently got. But this deck still has lots of different flexibility and all of the different tech and tools that you could run based on what you want to run, how you're going to be approaching the deck, and what your expected meta is going to be. But the deck does have a lot of different tools to lean into for that customization to happen. So even though it might not be the best deck to take into the meta, there's still just a lot of different tools to be able to play around with. On top of that, the deck at least does get a little bit of future support in terms of being able to customize the deck even further.